Hi, everyone. Welcome to People from Cleveland Are Dope. I'm Erica Miller, and today I am welcoming Judge Deborah Turner to People from Cleveland Are Dope. Judge Turner was elected to the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas General Division Bench in 2018. Before that, she served as a magistrate, prosecutor, and assistant law director, and she has practiced family law, criminal law, and probate law. Before her law career began, she was an educator. Judge Turner is a native Clevelander and one of my law school classmates. She's also a wife, a mom, and a grandmother. She has served the citizens of Greater Cleveland well for many years, and she's dope. Judge Deborah Turner, welcome to People from Cleveland Are Dope. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for the invitation. It is my pleasure.
It's good to see you again. We had a very long gap in between seeing each other until recently. But I followed you in all these years since law school, and I'm so proud of everything that you've accomplished.
Thank you.
Hence the reason you're here, because that's why I created People from Cleveland Are Dope, so we can celebrate the greatness of people from Cleveland. So thanks again for joining me. I like to start off by asking everybody what neighborhood in Cleveland you grew up in. So where'd you grow up?
Well, primarily, I grew up in the Morris Black Projects of Cleveland. I was born there and I lived there until I was about 12 years old. And then we didn't move far away from there, kind of down the street. If those remember St. Luke's Hospital, kind of lived in that area off 110th. And then my junior year in high school, we moved way to the other side of town. And that was off of Lakeview by the old Huff Bakery in front of Lakeview Cemetery. So I lived over there. And then finally, my summer before my senior year, we moved over off of Dickens, off of 93rd and Kinsman. And so that's where I lived till I graduated from high school.
Okay.
So we moved around quite a bit.
And you went to which high school?
Oh, the best in the East Senate, John Adams, Rebels for Life. Yes, I'm a rebel. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are.
Okay, go Rebels. Go John Adams. I had a lot of friends from junior high school who went to John Adams instead of going to Marshall with me. Yeah, a lot of good people went there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, and so when you were growing up in Cleveland, where did you like to hang out?
Well, my mom introduced us to my sister and I had an older sister. I was raised by a single mother, divorced mother, and she introduced us to roller skating. So we loved to roller skate. So during the fall and winter, we skated at the Playmore on Cedar. And during the summer, every day, we were at Woodhill skating rink. And then also bowling. My dad was a bowler. So later in life, when I established a relationship with my dad, we began bowling. And so pretty much it was a bowling alley or a skating ring. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, we did a lot of skating growing up, but we went to Southgate Skates.
Okay.
Yeah, roller skating was fun. And so when you finished high school, where'd you go to college?
Initially, I attended the Ohio State University, and then I came home and I transferred to Cleveland State University, and that's where I obtained my bachelor's and my master's degree from Cleveland State, as well as subsequently my law degree.
Okay. So tell us about your career path when you finished your bachelor's at Cleveland State. Did you go right into teaching? Did you get a master's first?
No, so my path was a long one. My journey was a long one. Actually, I took me 7 years to get my undergraduate degree because I didn't have money. And so I worked my way through undergrad school. I worked as a maid at a Ramada Inn on Brook Park Road. I worked at UPS, stacking trucks, and I worked for May Company at Southgate
Oh,
um,
wow.
as a clerk. And so I would have, school was on quarters then. And so I had to work for a period of time, gather some money, get enough to go to school. And then when the money ran out, I had to drop out again to work again. And so it was this cycle of working and stopping. And so I finally finished in 7 years. Also, in the interim, I got married. You know, you get married, then you start having children. So that was another piece that was in the mix. And when I finished undergrad, I still couldn't afford to go to law school. And so I had obtained teaching certification and I had 3 job offers. So I taught. So after about 2 years of teaching, then I went back and got my master's. So, and then it was probably another 10 years before I actually started law school after that.
What grade did you teach? And
Oh,
what subject?
history, social studies curriculum.
Okay.
So I taught junior high school initially, grades 7 through 9. That was in Cleveland Heights. And I taught government, history, and I taught a 9th grade class, what we call teen class as well, where you did kind of like sociology, psychology, you know, social studies curriculum. And then later I taught juniors and seniors at Cleveland Heights High. And I taught American history, world history, geography, um, government, and then I taught a high school law class and coached the mock trial teams. And actually, we were 4th in the state in 1994, I want to say.
Right on. So that's what you were doing when I met you.
Mm-hmm.
Started law school,
Mm-hmm.
93.
Yes.
So what made you finally make that transition to go to law school?
So I want to go to law school since I was 12 years old and wanted to be a lawyer, I should say. So I was 12 years old, but that was not the path for me based on, you know, economics, and just the things that kind of occurred in my life. And so in 1991, I was one of 10 teachers selected to receive kind of like a quasi legal education. It was called the Marshall Plan at Cleveland Marshall College of Law. So we attended classes in the evening, and once I got in that building and in those rooms, it just kind of came back that this is what I needed to do. And so the following year in 92, I started making preparations for entering law school and was able to enter in the class of 1993.
Wonderful. Um, so did anybody influence you towards law school when you were growing up, or what made you want to be a lawyer?
Well, actually, what happened was there was a incident that occurred in my life when I was 12 years old. As I indicated, my mom raised my sister and I as a single divorced mother. And she owned a restaurant at one time in the city of Cleveland on 55th between Woodland and Hawk North Court. And there was an incident that occurred at that restaurant that led to her arrest. And my grandmother hired Stanley E. Tolliver as her attorney. And he was a well-known Cleveland lawyer. He was called the street lawyer. And he used to frequent my mom's restaurant frequent. And so my grandmother hired him. Where I work currently at the Justice Center, it didn't exist. Everything was on Payne Avenue. So on this particular Saturday morning, Mr. Tolliver picked my sister and I up, and he took us downtown to, it was like a cafe that sat on the corner. And he took us there and he ordered us breakfast, and he said he was going across the street to visit our mom. And when he returned, he took us outside, had us stand on the corner, and he had us to look up. And he said, look at that building, and there were bars over the windows. And he said, you'll see a hand through the bars. And he said, that's your mom. She's waving at you and she can see all of you. You can only see the hand, but she can see all of you. And he said to us, if the justice system works, I'm bringing your mom home. And you have to understand, my mom was all my sister and I had. She was the one who was responsible for keeping a roof over our head, food in our stomach, clothes on our back. She was our stability. She was all that we had. So that was very significant for us. And so I can't tell you how the case resolved. I just know my mom came home, and my sister and I jumped into bed with her and held on like there was no tomorrow. And I said to myself at that time, because I'd seen someone who looked like me and it helped my family, and I knew he was a lawyer. I didn't know what being a lawyer even meant, but I knew that he had helped my family, and I wanted to help people like in the same manner. And so that's where the idea of becoming a lawyer came from. But I had no concept of what was involved to become a lawyer. Didn't even know all that lawyers did, except for what Mr. Tolliver showed me on that Saturday morning. And that's what I wanted to do. So that's where it came from.
Wow, that's an incredible story.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, we heard the name Stanley Tolliver all the time, but to know how he affected you personally, that just really is amazing. So shout out to him.
Yep.
So you practice law. You start off with your own practice, or?
I did. As a matter of fact, what's interesting is if we took the oath on November 8th, November 10th, I had a shingle and cards. It was
Right.
in business. And as a matter of fact, I want to say in December, I was in Garfield Court representing someone on an OVI. It was someone who was a former colleague of mine. And, all they knew was I was now a lawyer. And so, the phone started ringing, and there I was. And so the very first case I handled was in Garfield Court, and it was an OVI. A month after getting sworn in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah, I think I was working someplace, and then it didn't take me long at all before I was like, I'm a lawyer now. I'm just gonna practice law. Boom.
That's what I did. But I was also working at juvenile court at the time. I was working at juvenile court. I was a magistrate. I was a bailiff and magistrate for the Honorable Judge Janet E. Burney, who was the first African-American female to be elected to that court in 1998. Because that's when I left teaching. I left teaching in 1998 to go and work with her.
And how was that experience being a bailiff?
It was wonderful because, it's not the concept that most people have, because I was a personal bailiff. And so a personal bailiff basically, organizes a docket. As a matter of fact, she had also an assistant bailiff. So I really didn't do anything with the docket. I basically supervised the staff and handled administrative matters on her behalf. But I really didn't do anything with regards to the docket in that capacity. And then once I passed the bar, I also held hearings. I did her arraignments for her felony 1s and felony 2s, and I did all her probation violations as well. So that's what I presided over as the magistrate.
Yeah, that was excellent training for you.
Yes. As a matter of fact, When I left her, I think I was there, I think I was with Janet for 4 years. And when I left, I knew I was ready to practice family law because I'd learned so much about juvenile law and family law in those 4 years that I was ready, and that's what I did.
Okay. And then what made you think about becoming a judge?
You know, I really was not excited about becoming a judge initially. That was never on my radar. Always wanted to be an attorney since I was 12 years old, but being a judge was never on my radar. I kind of evolved there because I remember looking at Janet because I had a front seat and I saw what was involved. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And I remember saying that this is an awful lot of responsibility. Um, I remember just feeling some of the tension and the anxiety that went along with the position. And I was like, I don't think so. So it kind of evolved for me. I was in Bedford Court, started in Bedford Court, I think in 2005. And I was a magistrate. They named me a magistrate there. I was a magistrate over the traffic docket. So I did that. And then I did some pre-trials and I did some other civil matters in Bedford Court. And I was assistant law director in Bedford Heights. I was the prosecutor for Bedford Heights, and I was the prosecutor for Warrensville. As a matter of fact, Marcia Fudge, who was the mayor of Warrensville at the time, when she was planning to go to Congress right after Stephanie Tubbs Jones passed, that's when she appointed me as the prosecutor. She was on her way out, and I came in.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing a lot of things. I was in Bedford Court. And then in 2014, there was a judge who got into some trouble in Bedford Court, and he was taken off the bench. And so that was in 2014. And then, people started saying, you've been here since 2005. You know the court, you know the people. I think you should run for that seat. And so that's when it first kind of came to me. And so I'm a spiritual person. I prayed about it and asked for some guidance with regards to that. And then I believe that that's what I was supposed to do. And so it really kind of came in that fashion in 2014 with this idea of running for judge. And so I ran in 2015 unsuccessfully. There were 4 individuals in the race. I came in second and I lost by a little more than 3,000 votes. And I was devastated because I believe this is where I was supposed to be. And I believe that this is what I was supposed to do. So it was at that point that I believed that I really was supposed to be a judge. And I began to see the position differently because I began to see the impact you have on individuals' lives. And I think that that's important. And I became sensitive to the issues that surround the individuals who come before the court. And so that's when 2014, 2015 is when I really began to think that this is what I'm supposed to do.
What are some of your most memorable moments or cases since you've been a judge? Or even since you've been practicing?
They say that we have some cases that we call shelf cases. There are cases that impact you so severely that you kind of place them on a shelf and you'll never forget them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a case when I was a prosecutor in Bedford Heights that is like that. It was a domestic violence case. And this young lady was very young. As a matter of fact, she was about the age of my youngest daughter. And this was in, I want to say, February, March 2010. 10. So this domestic violence case came in January, and we had a pretrial the first week in February. So at the pretrial, the victim, the alleged victim, comes in, talks to the prosecutor about the case at hand. We kind of get a sense for, what's going on and what direction this case is going in. Well, this young lady, when I was talking to her, was adamant this case was going nowhere. She was not prosecuting. She was not going to cooperate, nothing. And then she began to deny that anything had actually occurred that led up to the charges with this young man. She had met the young man on the internet. He had recently returned from war, and we talked about that. As a matter of fact, I even took off my hat as a prosecutor and became a mother, and I'm talking to her about, what were you thinking, And so we worked out something as it relates to that case because she was not going to be cooperative, but we believed that this gentleman needed some help, that we could get him through the VA. And so I believe we resolved the case, put him on probation, and then he was supposed to get services at VA. And I said to her, now, he needs help. So do not associate with him. There's got to be some intervention and so on. So it was like February 24th, I received a call. It was a Friday, and it was like 5 o'clock in the evening, and I checked my voicemail, and she was on there. And she was like, hey, Miss Turner, it's so-and-so. And just wanted to tell you I was in Bedford Court today. And, the person that I was involved in, something else happened the night before. So we were back in court. So now we've got a new charge. And so I tried to call her and I was unsuccessful. So Saturday morning, I called her and we finally spoke. And she told me what had happened. And she said she'd not been truthful with me, honest with me. What had happened and so forth. And so I said to her, I said, well, you've got to cooperate so we can get him some help. You have to do that. So she promised me she would. And I told her, but you've got to stay away from him. Please stay away from him. And she promised me she would. So that was Saturday. Monday, I had a case down in Kent. My husband was always my driver. And he picked me up. And after I got out of court, and I answered my phone, and it was the clerk in Bedford Heights. And she said, Deb, he killed her. I said, killed who? And she wanted to tell me. When she gave me the name, I literally just screamed. So we later found out that through the phone logs that after she spoke with me, she spoke with him. And he convinced her to allow him to come over that Sunday. He wined her, he dined her, they were intimate, and then he killed her. Then he locked the door and he threw her key back under the door. But then he called his military supervisor or someone and told them what he had just done. And Bedford Heights police then went in, and that's when they discovered her. So that was a hard one. That was so hard that I thought, I can't do this. I thought, stick a fork in it, I'm done. But I learned a lot from that situation. And I was just I felt good because even though it was a weekend and it was a Friday, I called her back. And I knew that I had a phone conversation with her. And I knew that I tried to guide her and enlighten her with regards to what needed to be done. And I think I would have felt worse had I not called her back and said, oh, this can wait till Monday.
Right.
And then we have this result, and here we are. So yeah, that's one of my shelf cases when I was a prosecutor. And I always keep that at the forefront when I think about domestic violence cases and what can happen in these types of situations. have a lot of good stories too in family law, families that I was able to reunite, people
Mhm.
who I fought for to get their children back from CCDCFS, and even other family members who may have taken legal custody of their children when they may have been strung out on drugs, but now, it's been years and they've redeemed themselves and they're rehabilitated. So I have a lot of wonderful, wonderful stories like that as well. Mhm. But that particular case sticks out for me.
I'm sure that's a tough story.
Mhm.
Um, thank goodness that there are positives to the job as well. Like you
Mhm.
said about being able to reunite families, seeing good outcomes.
Mhm.
What advice would you give to someone who's considering law school?
I think that I would say to them, number one, law school is very demanding. I remember we had um, a professor who was also a dean, Dean White, who said, law school is like a jealous mistress. The more you give, the more she wants. And I think that's a good, fair assessment, because you can put in 5 hours, but you need to put in another 3. You can put in 8 hours, you need to put in another 2, because there's always this great demand to do more and to find more, research more, write more. I would say anyone who thinks they love the law and wants to do that in some form or fashion, and you may not know exactly how you want to practice what you want to do, and that's okay. But I think a law degree within itself is valuable, irrespective of you, if you ever practice. If you don't practice, I think it's just valid. I think the knowledge is wonderful. Um, I would say have what I used to tell my students, stick to itness. And they would say, Miss Turner, is that a word? And I say, yes, it is, because you hang on in there irrespective of any challenges, any hurdles. Just realize that hurdles or struggles or challenges are going to be there, but you can clear them. Sometimes it just takes perseverance and determination, but it can take place. Um, I believe that a law degree just enhances anything else that you have. And I would highly recommend individuals to pursue it if that is something that they think they really want to do. But it's no cakewalk now. That it is
Definitely
not.
not.
Nope, that is no cakewalk. And then the other thing I think that people didn't kind of explain, um, because I didn't know anything about it, I didn't realize that there were all these layers of things, even with law school. Knowing that I wanted to become a lawyer, I didn't realize that, number one, I knew you had to take LSAT. I knew you had to get in. I knew you had to stay in. And I knew there was something called the bar exam that you would eventually have to take. But what I didn't know was in between law school and the bar exam, there was this course that you had to pay for to take to go over all the concepts that would be on the bar exam, because you kind of think, well, wasn't that why I was in law school? And so, you pay for this 6 to 8 week course, and then, it's this every day delving into those topics and writing essays and so forth to be prepared to take the bar exam. So that part I didn't know anything about, and that was a surprise, because that was an experience.
Mhm.
But people need to understand that if you don't want to practice law, that you don't have to do that. If you just want the law degree and the advantages that come with the law degree, then you don't have to take the bar exam. Um,
I will plug law librarianship right here.
okay.
It's a great alternative if you're not sure you want to practice. But I digress. Um, how
No,
do you
but people
feel?
need to know that there are other alternatives. People need
Yeah.
to know that you can do something else. I have a very good friend who was a nurse, and she's used her law degree with regards to in another area that, that helps with regards to nursing and, in that particular area. So she's not practicing.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a great background to have, and it can be a launching pad for a lot of different things.
Mhm.
So, switching topics a little,
Okay.
what do you like to do in your spare time?
Uh, well, I don't have a lot of spare time anymore because I'm always out and about doing something. But if you put me in a classroom, you put me with students, I still love teaching. As a matter of fact, I was yesterday we have a program at the court that's called Courtroom in the Classroom. And so we actually take the docket of a judge to a classroom, and you actually have the hearings there. And so we have to find individuals who are willing to appear before these students and have their cases heard. Typically, we'll do a probation termination or a sealing of the record or something like that. And so we did that yesterday in Warrensville, as a matter of fact. And then I also participated last November at a school on the west side. Typically, they're eighth graders is what we do this for, but it's an official program that's sponsored by the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas. So I like that. Anytime you put me for some children, someone I can feel like I can pour into, give them a sense for who I am and how I became what I am, and the struggles that I've had to get there. Because people look at it and they say, oh, you're the judge. Yeah, but everybody doesn't get there in the same fashion. I didn't start law school till I was 39. The average person starts when they're about 22, 23 years old. So that wasn't my story. But I like to make sure that they understand that irrespective of where you are in life, that is still a door that you can open and walk through if that's what you want to do. And so to me, that's always so important to impart that, to encourage people, to inspire people, because I think we have a responsibility to reach back and bring people forward. And whatever knowledge we have, whatever we've attained, we have a responsibility to share that as a part of our legacy so that other people can benefit from what you've gone through, what you can share with them, so that they too can understand that, as I say, one step at a time, so long as it's in the right direction, even if they're baby steps, it works all together for the good.
Yeah, I agree. We should lift as we climb too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so give me 3 things that you love about Cleveland.
Oh my gosh. See, I was born and raised there. So I tell people, people say something. I say, oh, you coming to the land? Cleveland is diverse. Cleveland is, once you get to know the people of Cleveland, I think that you find that Cleveland is really friendly. I love the climate changes that we have. We can have 3 seasons in one day.
True.
I love fall the best. I think fall in Cleveland is just really wonderful. I think I love our park system, and I'm always participating in our parks. I live close to one that I can walk to. And so I love the park system in Cleveland. I love our museums. I love living by the lake. My chambers, I'm on the side of the building that actually has the lake view.
Oh, nice.
And the skyline of Cleveland is beautiful. And so when you look out the window from my chambers, I have the football stadium, and I can see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, of course, the Great Lakes Science Center, and all of those are gems that we have here. And when I can look out at that lake is so calming, it's peaceful. Even if I see a storm rolling in, it's just, I think we just don't understand or realize the benefit of Lake Erie, and it's beautiful. And so those were things I think are gems in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of
What's your
people realize that.
Yeah. And I love the food scene in Cleveland. I think there's some of the best food there. Even, having traveled and lived other places. So tell me where you like to eat.
Well, if you want a corned beef sandwich, you better go to Slyman's. And it's the original Slyman's. If you want some good barbecue wings, go to Kim's. Kim's Wings. The barbecue scene is changing a bit. You don't have the barbecue places as much as you had the old barbecue joints like what my mom had. But Mount Pleasant Barbecue is still there. I was down there a couple of weeks ago. My mother got her started the shrimp boat. Many people may remember that.
Yes.
That's where she learned the restaurant business, at the shrimp boat. And so a lot of places like that, we don't have too many anymore. But I think those are gems that we have as well. I'm just trying to think of some other places that I like, that are kind of moderately priced. I love the Brown Derby if you want a good steak. We no longer have one. Many people who were raised in Cleveland may remember there used to be one on Northfield.
Yeah, that's the one we used to go to. Yeah.
All the time. Sunday after church, that's where you went. Then there was one on 21. And so those two, of course, haven't existed for years, but there's one out in Streetsboro that we go to. There was one on Mayfield that closed maybe about a year ago, but we still frequent the Brown Derby if we want a good steak. Moderately priced. You're not really expensive. But those are kind of what jump out, for me when I think we used to have Hot Sauce Williams. Now we could get a good shoulder sandwich at Hot Sauce Williams, but it closed during the pandemic, and so we missed that. But those are the places that kind of jump out at me when I think about food and being a foodie.
Yeah.
I like Mr. Chicken for fried chicken. I like Mr. Chicken.
It used to be famous recipe, didn't it?
Yes. Oh, you remember that? Yes. And it was on Northfield Road. And I think there's one famous recipe left in the state of Ohio, and it is up near Sandusky, near Great Lake Kalahari and Great Wolf
Oh,
Lodge.
yes, yes.
There's one famous recipe there, but you're right. Famous recipe. And
we used to stop there and get chicken on the way to Cuyahoga Lake.
And Cuyahoga Lake seemed like it was so far away.
It did used to seem far.
It seemed like it would take us forever to get there. And, yeah, Cuyahoga Lake, and then we used to go out to Midway Farm out in well, it was farther in, but it was Oakwood. We didn't know it was Oakwood. Oakwood is around the corner now, but it seemed like it took us so long to get there that we were going out of town. But yeah, famous recipe. And years ago, I don't know if people remember, there used to be a place on Northfield called Beef Corral. And we used to go there and they had a corned beef on a rye roll. And we would go there and get that. And then there was Big Barney. And we used to go there. So there are a lot of places that used to exist. The other place I like is Arthur Treacher's. Arthur Treacher's, I love Arthur Treacher's. Not Long John's.
Can't get that here.
Arthur Treacher's. Arthur Treacher's. So there's one left in Garfield, off of Rockside Road. So we'll go there every now and then.
Wow. Oh, that's bringing back memory.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, and I'm glad we got to learn more about your life, your background, your career, and what it's like to be a judge in Cuyahoga County.
Yeah, it's challenging, but I love it, and I don't even see it as a job. It's challenging, but it's also rewarding. And I just want to mention, because you mentioned I was married, on Monday, I will be married 52 years to my high school sweetheart.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yes. And we've been together since we were 16.
Wow. I'm only halfway there. We're at 26.
All right. Hang on in there.
Oh,
Hang,
we're
hang
getting,
on in there. I tell people when that rope gets a little slippery, just tie a larger knot and hang on just a little while longer. Yeah.
and don't give up on the same day.
Nope. Can't. Keep it moving in the right direction. And it's good. It's all good.
That's fantastic.
It's good.
Uh, okay. Well, thanks again. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much again for inviting me. And yes, people from Cleveland are dope.
Yes, we are. We'll end on that note.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.